First of all, I have to give absolute credit to Mayor Bloomberg and his transportation commissioner, Sadik-Khan, because it was a real leap of political leadership and faith to take that risk and to say, here, it's a completely different paradigm for how we're going to look at this portion of the public realm. And there was intense criticism, and the elite in New York travel by car, not by subway, so it didn't, and they don't walk around Times Square. So it's, some of the people that drove the conversation were experiencing it, Times Square only in one way. There were very, very detailed traffic studies that showed that the effect on traffic was nominal in terms of traffic getting worse. But I think it was only because people knew that Times Square was kind of a total mess before that they even tolerated the idea. Interestingly, in terms of how these things travel, we have a baseline question that we ask, which is, are you satisfied with your experience in Times Square? And we ask the public, we ask people that work in Times Square every day. And for the people who work in Times Square every day, that number was about 47%. After the closure of of Broadway, that number went up to 73%. Now we're back down in the 50s because of all these new conditions. So you can't be driven totally by the polls, but you have to know what's going on with that. But I think, in the case of something like that, my instinct is that I revert to how do I reframe the question. And that's why I think it's important to say it's all about the money, but it's also about the ideas. It's also about how do you reframe the picture? Are we recasting the notion of the public realm? Is it only for the cars, or is it that this is a kind of town square and this is a place where people can celebrate? Is it can we do surveys that show that people's perceptions are somehow improved because they've had this wonderful experience? And of course, that's qualitative, not quantitative, but those things can count when you're, especially, I think one of the parallels that I've seen with Singapore and Times Square is, I think my perception is, from things I've read, is that you have some of the same brand issues that Times Square does, where people say, that I think you've done a lot to overcome recently, like, Singapore isn't as colorful as other places. It's Disneyland, and people say Times Square is Disneyland, and how do you chip away at these things that hurt your brand, that are going to hurt your tourism economy? You have to incrementally show that you're shifting people's perceptions, and you have to say, this is a problem that we are solving. And there's some way in which, if you went from 250,000 people to 400,000 people in a year, you were addressing some deeper need or problem. But when we had our first conversations with the Transportation Ministry folks about this, before the new commissioner came in, it was only about cars. That was the only metric or only criteria for success. So the challenge so often is the framing. And that's also why I think where the NGOs and the civic organizations can sometimes help government, because sometimes the agency wants to do something differently, but the issue has been framed as only a traffic issue. And so we were really key when Sadik-Khan, the DOT commissioner, wanted to be innovative. She needed, I think it's fair to say, and she said, she needed us to help reframe the issue and to be an ally.